Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Radio Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys from down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course, all of you good old boys up in Canada. We thank you so much for following the Big C Sports Show. Also, I want to tell you there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for all of you good old boys? Oh, you gonna have a big crowd showing up for bacon and tomato sandwiches, Big C. Make me one. I'll get on an airplane to come down there and get one of those.
Jonathan, it's just a beautiful atmosphere down here in the south. Everything is beautiful and the humidity was up around 90 degrees. I sweated off 2 or 3 pounds waiting on that bacon sandwich.
Yeah, well, I understand that too, Big C. Today's a beautiful day, actually, in California, the land of the free, the home of the brave. It is August 15th. We are halfway through the month of August, and obviously there's so much going on in the world of sports. We'll mix a little bit of politics with sports as we always do, and it seems like everybody with a brain, Big C, is doing the same thing. I even heard a rumor going on in Northern California that they're actually letting some sports guys give their opinion about what's going on in life that affects them more than just who won the game last night. And about a year ago, all of these guys, they were bringing on some outside panelists. But what I do realize, and is something that I think is something that people kind of take for granted, it seems that most of our Caucasian brethren, they have no idea what police brutality is until they see this neo-Nazi thing that springs up, and they think, oh, that's what it is. But they have to just understand that a lot of African Americans deal with a lot of that same garbage every day or every month. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Chuck, the most appalling part about this neo-Nazism, as we spoke yesterday, think about the countless thousands of Americans who lost their lives and remained in World War II fighting the Nazis. And yet we have a president who will not denounce them being in America, allowing them the right to walk down the street as normal American citizens who fought them from 60, 70 years ago, Charlton, in World War II.
Yeah.
This is the most appalling aspect about this sports, where there's mainstream life, Charlton, to have Nazis walk the street of America in protest, banishing flags, Charlton, of that symbol. That's created so many lives, Charlton, in Europe in the 40s, 30s, and 40s, Charlton.
Yeah.
And allow America's spotlight to say, hey, they have a right. They have a right to, they don't, Charlton. Just 3 nights ago, they were denouncing Jews in Charlotte.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
On network television, Charlton, they were denouncing Jews, and yet the president still have not denounced them. This is what's wrong with our society, Charlton.
Yeah.
Is that when we sit here and look racism in the eye, we look bigotry in the eye in America, we want to blame black people for problems that are occurring. There was nobody black that's carrying a neo-Nazi sign, Charlton.
Yeah.
There was no one black denouncing Jews in America, Charlton. That's pure hatred and racism.
Yeah.
And you think about how many Jewish Americans play sports in America, Charlton, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, they exist, okay?
Yeah.
And these neo-Nazis were denouncing them as Americans last night, and the president is saying, these are the type of Americans that we want.
Well, obviously, we got to put an end to that. You only put an end to things by bringing attention to it. I do want to say that today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. So obviously, we're going to touch on things as they happen because it is real talk. That means you're going to talk about real issues. But I do want to touch on a little bit of what happened in college football, Big C, and we'll get into a little bit more of the Trump situation later. Art Briles, former great football coach for the University of Arkansas, caught up in the days of Jim Crow as well. He coached from 1958 to 1976, had a record of 144 wins, 58 losses, and 5 ties. He has the most wins in the SEC football history. In 1964, they won the national championship, and he's had a host of great people that play for him, and they won 7 Southwest Conference championships. Now we know that Arkansas is part of the SEC conference. But just your thoughts on Art Briles. He coached against the great, Paul Bear Bryant back in the day. He's also back in the time of Woody Hayes and some other great coaches, Bo Schembechler, as well as Joe Paterno. Just talk about what Art Briles meant to the University of Arkansas. Big C, your thoughts? Yeah.
This man was a mainstay. If you think about the number of victories they had, Charlton, that's when they only played 10 games in a college football season.
Yeah.
They didn't have these 13-game seasons, so he didn't have these elongated seasons, Charlton. And so to have won a national championship, he went against the great Bill Broyles down in Texas.
Yeah.
They played the game of the century. Former President Richard Nixon was there.
Yeah.
At that game, Charlton, that's how much hype it had back in those days that a president would show up for the game of the century. Charlton, this man was a mainstay on the college campus as far as rules, regulations in college football.
Yeah.
He was in the forefront of naming student athlete. He coined that phrase, student athlete.
Oh, yeah.
Charlton.
Yeah.
So, his historical legend will always live on. After he left the South Atlanta coaching, he teamed with the greatest voice in college football history.
Yeah.
Keith Jackson. He had an 8-year run on ABC with Keith Jackson where he educated. He was the original John Madden, Charlton, in the broadcast booth, teaching the layman fan about football terminology.
Yeah.
Back in those days, Charlton. So Art Briles did a tremendous job on the sideline in the broadcast booth. He lived a wonderful, lustrous 92 years.
Yeah.
And he was able to affect and help so many young men, Charlton, over that time span.
And Big C, I do want to bring this up because that was before the days of ESPN and all the different sports channels, whether it's ESPN or Fox Sports, and sports channels that are all over. They're regionalized, sports TV. And I just want to bring up the fact that when you look at the Jim Crow and how we're dealing with issues now, a lot of that issues went on in Arkansas. However, when you look at Art as a great coach, he was responsible for the hiring of Eddie Sutton, one of the great basketball coaches in this country, the great Nolan Richardson that led Arkansas basketball to a national championship, and a host of other players that he's been responsible for and coaches. He also coached Jimmy Johnson and also your good friend down there that owned the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones. Big C. He was coaching them good old boys before Jerry Jones became the owner of the Dallas Cowboys and all of his fame. But inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1983. Now, and I want to bring that up because he had to do his thing primarily through the days of Jim Crow when we were still dealing with Jim Crow when he was hired on in 1958. But here's a guy, a white guy, that fed into the Good Old Boy Network, but he's one of the reasons that an African-American coach got hired in the Deep South down in Arkansas. And I say that's important because we talk about our president and how men, they can't control what circumstances they're in, like Coach Briles, but they can make a difference in those circumstances. And he's one of the men that went on, whether people liked him or not, he's one of the men that saw good in all people, and he tried to open doors for African Americans as well as his white brethren. He didn't shout down people because they said something was wrong with society. He tried to make a positive impact with it. Big C, your thoughts?
Evolution is adaptation, okay?
Yeah.
He adapted to the evolution as society changed. That shows the greatness of an individual. When you look at it, whether it's a social activist or even in sports, when you take that adaptation, you think about football.
Yeah.
When he was coaching, the wishbone was a power offense.
Yeah.
The adaptation of football moved beyond the wishbone, Charlton, and those who could succeed, succeeded. And
Yeah.
those who could not, Charlton, fell to the wayside as coaches.
Yeah.
Art Briles was able to move along the ledger of time. Is what he did. And you think about it as being the athletic director at Arkansas.
Yeah.
Hiring Nolan Richardson, who brought that university's only basketball
Only one.
championship.
Only one.
Taking a chance on a young African-American coach, Charlton.
Yeah.
Taking the firing Eddie Sutton that he had hired, Charlton, who had a lot of controversy and baggage that followed him.
Yeah.
But, Art Briles was one of those trailblazers, Charlton, without men like that in sports, especially African American opportunity.
Yeah.
To say, hey, that there was an injustice done over the years. Let me see what I can do to help aid that now.
Yeah.
That I am in the position to make a change, to make a coaching and social change. That's what he did with Nolan Richardson, hiring him from the University of Tulsa. Nolan Richardson, is one of those coaches that has won championships on all levels.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at junior college and in the NCAA. So, that move to bring Nolan Richardson in, and I remember that championship very well, Chopper, when they played it down in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Former President Clinton was in the stands at the Charlotte Coliseum.
Yeah.
When Nolan Richards, 40 minutes of hell offense, won the national championship, Charlton.
Yeah, and
this is what you do. You give people opportunity.
Yeah.
Regardless of race, because all men are created equal.
Yeah.
And when you give an African American an opportunity in sports, they generally will succeed given the same equal tools that their white brethren is given, Charlton.
Yeah.
And they're not lambasted like Charlie Strong was in Texas and undercut with the back current that makes your job uneasy. If you walk away and allow this man to do his job like Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
who has won a Super Bowl
Yeah.
as a head coach, as Tony Dungy did in Indianapolis winning a head coach. Even though Lovie Smith didn't win a Super Bowl, he made it to a Super Bowl
Yeah.
as a head coach. When you look at the number of African-American head coaches, Charlton, that have been in the NFL,
Yeah.
there's been the majority of them that have been successful, that have had stellar careers. And they have also been the first to be fired when they have a bad season.
Yeah.
Where white brethren will go head on and get another job with the next team down the road, regardless of never having a winning record, just like Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
The man had played 11 years in the NFL prior to going to the broadcast booth. 11 years. And in those 11 seasons in the NFL, Charlie, he's only produced 3 winning seasons.
Well, Big C, that's a great point. We always want to bring up that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century, and they work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro athlete, a collegiate athlete, even your high school and mom and pop soccer leagues. Reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. And so, Big C, as I bring up what happened down in Arkansas, there's so much talk about how do we make our society better. And what I love about the sports is one of the only things you can do in the United States that can pack 100,000 people in the same arena for about 3 hours on a Saturday or sometimes a Sunday evening to watch men play football. And it's such a part of an American fabric that I think that's the best pulpit to reach people. It's not the church. I don't know if any churches that can hold 100,000 people, and even if they do, how many people are going to go to that one? But I think what sports can do, and I think about some of the things that Brawl talked about. Sports is kind of like a lesson. You can learn lifelong lessons from it. You have to learn to compete. And when things aren't going your way, you don't quit. You just find a way to make it better. And no matter what people think of President Trump, I think he's been egregious. But I still pray for our president. Now, I don't know if prayer matters, but I still want our country to do great. And I hope that brighter minds will come together and get around someone who's doing wrong. Just like Browse, he could have been like the good old boys that say, I'm not hiring black men, because that was okay in his culture. But he said no. He did the right thing, and I hope that dialogue will create the right thing. And for all the people that say, well, let's stop talking about it, let's just talk about sports. The only reason people know about the I Have a Dream speech is because they stopped watching sports for a moment and they listened to the great Dr. Martin Luther King. Not just people in the news, but people in the sports industry also, Big C. What can we learn from society, Big C, and the history about continuing to have a healthy dialogue about just making the right choices, Big C? Your thoughts?
I think the dialogue in America comes from the top. If we don't have leadership in America preaching the right dialogue, Charlton, all the rest of the messages will fall on deaf ears.
Yeah.
Because we're looking for leadership. This is the first time that we have not had definitive leadership in America in decades.
Yeah.
Where, a president could speak, Charlton, and speak in volume. Not sitting here trying to cover for one party or another.
Yeah.
But to speak in volume. If you're going to condemn something, condemn it wholeheartedly for what it is.
Yeah.
People did not march into this place in a peaceful scenario. You can't blame both sides. One side was offended by the other side given opportunity to do this.
Yeah.
But as Americans, we talk about civil liberties in this country.
Yeah.
Whether it's in sports, civil liberties to have an opportunity. And when that opportunity is being taken away from us when you had a campaign that was run on hateful rhetoric.
Yeah.
Speaking about every culture, except for the Nazis who were backing him, the Ku Klux Klan who were backing him. And these are the people David Duke tweeted out today. Thank you, President,
Yeah.
for coming to our side,
Yeah.
for recognizing and not condemning us. This is what the Ku Klux Klan said today.
Yeah.
Is that he didn't condemn them. The alt-right, you know, the reason why he won't fire Steve Bannon is because Steve Bannon led the alt-right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he fired Steve Bannon, who the alt-right has in the White House,
Yep.
and he kicked him out, what type of flack he would receive at that point
Yeah.
from the alt-right? That's what scares him, Charlton. He has fear of what white supremacy will say and do against him.
Yeah.
So when we look at that, that doesn't resonate in sports. You know, sports has been given the opportunity to equal the playing field to a degree.
Yeah.
And it's not equal, but it's equal to a degree.
I think you're right.
Opportunity. You know, opportunity is there, but equality is not. And we look at that in the handling of certain players and aspects of sports. You know, we can talk about a percentage of African Americans are dominating in certain sports, but that's only because they create better entertainment for the fans, Chuck.
Yeah.
That is the reason why. Not because they want it, but they want better entertainment for the fan.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to create. It's not that they want to pay all of them, because if that was the case, then the percentage would be even higher.
Yeah.
But you have to keep a certain percentage of white players, Charlton, because it's the white fans who are buying all the tickets all the time.
Yeah, and I think what I see from our younger society is it's going to take all people, all cultures to come together, and I do have a lot of hope in young people. Because unlike, say, 50 years ago when Browse was doing his thing back in Arkansas, a lot more people are willing to shake hands and hold hands and say, you know what, we just want a better society. And we know sports is a big part of that, Big C. So we're doing an abbreviated show today just because we want to pay homage to all the people back in Virginia, not just the ones who lost their lives, but the ones who were also beaten up and battered. So, Big C, in the final few minutes, I just want to say that back in the day, there was a man by Drew Bondini Brown. He was Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He had a slogan called Rumble, Young Men Rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
What I'm looking forward to is this second week of preseason football to see what's going to occur. You know, this is the first year in the NFL that we haven't had weekly cuts during the preseason.
Yeah.
It's going to be one final cut in totality. So there's a lot of pressure on a lot of men and a lot of coaches, Charlton, to get it right for the opening of the regular football season.
Well, Big C, that's always true. And again, we're doing a special shortened show today because we want to pay homage to all the people in Virginia and ask for healing for our country. So for all you people, we just want to tell you, every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the Big C Radio Network. And we want to tell you, we believe we're the #1 sports show in the universe because Big C and his good old boys down south, they said we are, so we trust them. And also, there's never any room for domestic violence. If you know anyone in trouble, just call 911 so they won't have to deal with it on their own. And as we tell you on every Big C Sports program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.